So a question that we want to start off with, who are you and what is your motivation to run for the SGA president?
I'll start.
Okay, sure.
Hi, y'all. My name is Doretha Ben. Obviously, I'm running for SGA president. So a little bit about myself. I'm a sophomore here at ETSU. Clearly, I'm giving y'all information you already know. My major is communication studies and my minor is political science. So my motivation for running. The main reason I want to run and I pick these people to run with me is because we have a dream. I mean, right now it's kind of formed into a movement, so to speak. I just feel like we want to give this school back to the students. We want to make it more student focused. We see now the students don't feel heard and they feel ignored and they don't feel like they're a part of this school. And we want to run because we want you to feel empowered. We want you to feel like you go here, like you're a part of something bigger, like you matter, because you do. You make this school. This is your university, and it's about time that it is given back to you. So that's why I want to run.
All right. My name is Kevin Carlson. I am also running for student body president. I'm majoring in economics, minoring philosophy, and the reason I'm running is because I believe that currently the Student Government Association has become a lot of government and very little student. I believe that we have lost our purpose. Our Constitution very clearly states that we're to do a couple of things. We are to represent the voices of the students, we are to be a resource for students, and we are to help network students both among themselves, among organizations, and with the administration. I believe that currently we've gotten so wrapped up in politics and in internal struggles that we are not doing that. So we are here to re-empower the students and to put them first again. And together, I believe that myself and these two individuals to my left will be able to put the student back in student government.
Thank you, candidates. For the next question, what leadership experiences do you have that would qualify you for this position?
All right, my turn to go first. So at the age of 11, I did what a lot of young men do, and that is join the Boy Scouts of America. Laugh, if you will. It's kind of a thing that a lot of people chuckle at, but it's something that I take very seriously. And the reason that I take it seriously is this. From that young age, I began building my life around a certain set of principles. Principles like trustworthiness, loyalty, honesty, integrity. I built myself and the leader that I have become around those ideas. They were ingrained in me from a very young age. So when I got here to ETSU and I started taking leadership roles, like being the chairman of the Buck Fund Committee, I was able to apply those principles. And as I applied those principles, I found that it came very naturally and very easy to collaborate and to work with people. So I believe that because of these principles and because of my experience in building collaborative communication, I can help this student government be the leaders on this campus that we are meant to be.
So kind of like Kevin, I started at a young age as well. My mother was very dominant, you know, she was very be independent, do everything yourself kind of woman. And so she kind of instilled those in me. So I've been a leader, and I didn't really take leadership roles in elementary school because we didn't really have anything that you could do. And I moved around a lot, so I didn't have time to really settle into any school. But in middle school, you know, I was president of the 4-H club. All throughout high school, I was president of the conservation club. I was president I was vice president of our class, band captain. So really, I kind of have this mentality that when I come into a place, like, I kind of take over, not really take over like in a Hitler kind of way, take over, that's weird. But like, I just come in and I just, like, it's just, I just feel a need to lead people. I feel like that's what I was born to do. That's what I'm here for. And I practice it all the time. I'm the chair of your Relay for Life right now. So putting that together is leadership. I think, you know, just being, I'm just a leader on campus, you know, like I'm in many different organizations where I take leadership roles and I take head. And I feel like this would just be another opportunity for me to take lead and let the students bond and probably like push out some more student leaders, you know, can't do it all on my own.
Beautiful. I think it's great to be able to see people who have really taken their leadership seriously as they've gone throughout their lives. And sort of with that, you've talked a little bit about what you've done here at ETSU. So I guess a question befitting, what is ETSU, may be a good thing. So to you, personally, what makes ETSU unique and valuable?
What doesn't make ETSU unique and valuable? This is the only place you can major in bluegrass. The squirrels on this campus are really weird and aggressive. One hissed at me. Basically, I just feel like ETSU was the only college that I came to visit that made me feel like I was home, that made me feel like they cared about me. Teachers like Carrie Oliveira, you're here tonight, I can't see you. I took off my glasses. Oh, there you are, she's wonderful. She literally set out time on her weekend to come help us study for our test. Like, what other university do you know teachers do that? I don't. I mean, I don't go to any other university, but still. So yeah, I just think ETSU's way to make you feel like you belong here and that we care and that we want you to succeed. I think that's what makes ETSU valuable, and I think that's what makes it individual, you know, like that's, ETSU is amazing and I love it. Thank you.
So when I first started looking to go to college, I of course toured a couple of places, and ETSU was actually the last place I visited. The reason that is because I visited University of Cumberland's, UT, place after place, and nothing quite felt right. But then I stepped onto this campus and I looked around and I didn't understand why, and I still fully don't, but it felt just right. It felt like home. It felt like a place I could be proud of no matter what. And as I've been a student here, I've started to realize what some of those reasons are. One of them, ETSU is not too big and it's not too small. Every day I walk to class, I see faces I recognize. I look out now and I see faces I recognize, people I know and love. Happy birthday, Brad Fisher. You didn't get recognized because Dr. Lee's birthday is today, but happy birthday. I know a lot of you very personally, and that's incredible. But I also see a lot of faces I don't know, which tells me that each face I don't know is an opportunity to meet someone and to make a new connection that I didn't used to have. So ETSU is uniquely sized so that no matter what, you can have the familiarity and opportunities to meet new people, which I think is incredible. And another thing which has really personally impacted me has been the relationships I've been able to have with faculty. I feel as though I would not be the person that I am today if not for their mentorship. Well, I can only have their mentorship because we are kind of small. We're not too big, we're not too small, but we're just the right size that students get the personalized attention they need. And that means that as we develop into our careers, we're going to be all that much better equipped for our futures.
Okay, this next question is a two-part question. What do you think is the most prevalent issue facing the students that you will need to address if elected? And how do you plan to address this issue? Candidate Carlson.
I believe that every single student on this campus has issues and concerns that matter a lot to them. And so I'm not going to label all of you with one main concern. I think that's an injustice. What I am going to say is that the other injustice in this is that currently student government could be doing more to represent those concerns and to address those concerns. So the thing that I want to fix and the concern that is material to everybody is that we could be a representative body and we could do the things that we need to do to be accessible and accountable to you. And while we're taking steps in that direction, we're not doing all of those things. There is more that could be done. So my belief is that to address that concern, I need to start acting, and we need to start acting as a body to make accessibility, accountability, and affordability realities. Because with those principles in mind, we can generate transparency. And once we have transparency, we have a student body that will have their concerns met no matter what they are.
So, can you repeat the question?
What do you think is the most prevalent issue facing the students that you will need to address if elected? And how do you plan to address this issue?
So I think the main issue that I've heard throughout my time being at ETSU and throughout my time campaigning is that students don't feel empowered by the school, you know. I don't know if many of you know, but 400 students between last semester and this semester just kind of flew off the radar. Like, they didn't drop out and they didn't transfer, we don't know what happened to them. I don't know where they are. I wish I did, but I don't know where they are. So I feel like if we made students feel empowered and heard and listened to and like they were a part of this school and like we truly and genuinely cared about them, then maybe we wouldn't have a problem keeping people here. We wouldn't have a problem bringing people here. So I feel like the main issue is that we do empower our students, but not to the level I think we should. I mean, I think we're doing a great job now, but hey, there's always room for improvement. You know, there should never be a period where we are not trying to improve. I wholeheartly believe that we should always be working towards improvement. So if elected into office, I know that Taylor and Zach and I, sorry, We will definitely work towards trying to let the students be heard and let them feel empowered, because I feel like that's the main thing. You need to know that we care and that we're here for you, because, I mean, we are the Student Government Association. Why not be here for the students?
You guys always lead me right into the very next question. So we're talking about students. And essentially, like, ETSU has often had like that whole stigma of being what would be considered a suitcase campus. So what is your plan to increase student involvement with both commuter students and those students who stay on campus?
So one major thing, I just want to shout out to Bugtainment. I don't know if y'all know what shout out means. It's just, shout out to, moving on. They started this thing where they do something every Tuesday and then they do something every weekend. I think that's a beautiful thing to implement, more things to make students want to stay on campus or more things to make students get involved. So they do that. They do Takeover Tuesdays and they do a movie or something every weekend. I feel like providing more activities and more incentives for students to stay would make students, commuters, and people who live on campus want to be here and want to stay here. That was it.
So Doretha sort of alluded to the fact that we don't get to put on events, generally speaking, except for our major concerts, which is awesome. But she's right. So groups like Bugtainment do put on programming, as do a variety of other organizations, and we make available to them resources such as Buck Fund to put on these events. It is my belief that as student government, we could do a lot more to essentially network these organizations to put on larger events. Because the larger and the more advertised the event is, the more likely people are to stay for it. If you don't know an event's happening on Saturday, your liability of going home increases drastically. So I believe that it is student government's job and our responsibility to help these organizations work together to basically maintain students or to retain students on the weekends. Because, like I said, we can't put on that programming, but we can sure as heck help the people that are.
Thank you, candidates. Now, how are you going to differ from current executive officers, if at all?
I just want to say that the current executive exemplifies a lot of qualities that I really admire. One of those being the sort of approachability that they have and the collaborative atmosphere that they generate in the office and in the Senate chamber. I always feel affirmed in my ideas and beliefs by them. And the only thing that I would defer, I think, would be to almost expound those qualities and to really make those qualities reach out as much as possible to the students, which they already do to a degree. But I want to ensure that no matter who you are as a member of student government, students feel comfortable approaching you and talking to you and being honest with you about what those ideas are. Not that they don't currently, but I think that that is something that we should strive towards.
So I think me and my ticket will differ because we're different people. We bring different things to the table. I love the current exec. I think they're wonderful people. So the main reason we'll differ is because I'm totally different than Mike. Taylor is totally different than Allison, and Zach is totally different from Robbie. We're just different people. So we'll differ because we bring different things to the table. We're all unique in our own ways. So yeah, we'll completely differ because we're different people. We might have the same values and the same morals, and we want to, better do things better for the students. But the main reason we'll differ is because we're all unique in our own ways, and we'll bring different things, and we have different ideas.
That's beautiful. So, thank you all for talking. I mean, we've moved a little bit more into Senate now as the discussion has gone in. So, specifically, what type of actions would you take to encourage and foster cooperation amongst the senators, specifically regarding legislation?
So one major thing that I know, I'm supposed to answer this first, right? Okay. So one major thing that I know my ticket and I would love to do is have, I don't know if you all know, but Cabinet goes on a retreat during the summer. I think that's great. Cabinet gets to bond, but Senate never gets to bond. We just come in first day, boom, you're supposed to get along with these people. I don't even know half of you, stuff like that. So I know I would love, and my ticket would love, to have not only a cabinet retreat, but a kind of Senate retreat, where we would just come to the Culp or Tipton Hayes or somewhere where we would just come, and bond, because I don't think you can function correctly if you don't really know the person you're working beside. You need to get to know your colleague, you need to trust your colleague, and you need to care about your colleague before you can even think about collaborating. So we would love to do a little Senate retreat get together during the summer so we can go ahead and start working on legislation ideas. Let's break up into groups and let's give y'all an idea, or y'all come up with your own idea, write your piece of legislation, present it to the body, and let's come in first day, guns blazing, theoretically, But, so yeah, that's one thing we would want to do, because we think Senate should just be a body where we come in and it is a free atmosphere. I'm answering a different question, I'm sorry. Well, we just think Senate should be like this body where, first of all, we trust each other and we trust each other's motives, you know? So that's just one thing we would want to do, is have a Senate retreat, sort of, so the senators could get to know each other before we're just pushed in this room and made to write legislation together.
I think the saying is true that great minds think alike. I have a very similar idea as well as another. But I will say, I guess, how my plan for the Senate retreat would differ from Ms. Benz. I intend to forego as much of the presidential salary as necessary, or all of it if necessary, in order to put on a comprehensive retreat for the senators, because the purpose of the Senate is to represent the students, and no paycheck is worth not being able to do that. So I believe that by doing this collaborative retreat, we can sort of build the connections before we even get into the Senate chamber, and then we can hit the ground guns blazing, as Ms. Ben said. And I absolutely respect that. I think it's a great sentiment. I also believe that during the year that the president should be able to essentially build bridges that don't currently exist in the Senate. So according to our Constitution, the president is allowed to set what's called the legislative agenda. Well, in the process of setting this agenda and sort of guiding the Senate in what we should be thinking about, I also intend to say, hey, that senator has never talked to that senator. Why don't you two work together on this piece of legislation? And hopefully, they'll build a bond that wasn't previously there. And the next day we go into that Senate chamber, and we'll be that much better and more collaborative because of it.
Now, you both have expressed your appreciation and love for ETSU, but what makes you passionate about SGA, Mr. Carlson?
What makes me passionate about student government is that there is no single other entity on this campus that has the potential for impact on students that the student government does. Every Tuesday at 4 p.m., we have the capability to make radical decisions, if we so choose, which could extremely benefit or extremely hurt the students. Now, I like to think that most of the time we do benefit them. But I believe that my passion for SGA stems from my belief that we should always be working to benefit them as much as possible. I never want to look at someone else in student government and say to them, oh, we're good enough now, we can stop getting better. Oh, the status quo is okay, we don't have to improve anymore. That's ridiculous. I hate it when people in that chamber say, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. Because that's saying we don't ever have to get better for the students. That is a disservice, that is an injustice, and that is an indignity. So my passion stems from my will to represent the students at all times as comprehensively as possible.
I would have to say, I've always had a passion for SGA. I was in SGA in high school. So I think it just stems from, like, I just love people. I'm just a really big kind of people person. So being able to represent students is just the most amazing feeling in the world, that students trust you enough to elect you into an office because they know that you'll let their voice be heard. They know that you'll go back, ask their opinion, and then you'll voice what they told you. So I think I'm passionate about SGAs because we get to represent the most diverse and the most wonderful body of students I've ever seen. You know, so I just love that feeling, to knowing that the students trust us enough to elect us into these offices to just voice their opinions, you know, and like, I don't know, I just love people. So I'm really glad that students would elect us into an office just to represent them. So I'm passionate about SGA because we get to represent like the coolest group of people I know. Thanks.
Talking about passion is always perfect. I feel like that leads perfectly into this next little question. So with so much passion for an organization, it means you've obviously done a lot of things for it, and you two are obviously well-rounded in that area. But my question for you is, personally, what has been your greatest contribution to the SGA, and why? Ms. Ben.
So I know y'all are expecting me to talk about legislation. Not my greatest contribution. Although I have written legislation, it is not my greatest contribution. I think my greatest contribution to SGA would be like my positive attitude and my willingness to go out and actually hear the students and hear what they have to say. I know walking into Senate, sometimes people just walk in with the worst attitudes and they don't want to be there, and so we just mull over things like they don't even matter. And so I think coming in with a positive attitude, saying, hey, I'll be here till 8, 9, 10 if I must, because I got homework to do. But you know, like, I feel like that's that's the biggest thing that I've brought. I've written some good legislation. I've co-sponsored some great legislation as well, but I think the biggest thing that I've brought is just being able to go out and listen to students and then bringing that positive attitude back into the room, so we just don't rush out of this meeting like we don't give two craps about the students.
I believe that my greatest contribution thus far, and hopefully there will be opportunity for more, but my greatest contribution this far, I think, has been my work with Buck Fund, and Secretary Allocations Haichu deserves a lot of the credit for that as well. He's shaking his head no, but he does. So prior to my tenure as chairman of the Buck Fund, I understand that student organizations would come into that room and oftentimes leave in tears. They would come into what was more or less a tribunal of sorts. They would come in and prove to us why they deserve our money. Well, it's not our money, it's your money, and our purpose is to give it to you. But that's not what Buck Fund was. So at the beginning of this year, with Secretary of Allocations Haichu, we sat down and we said, how do we revamp the culture in this Buck Fund? And that's exactly what we've done. We've revamped it. Students come in and we help them. We say, how can we make your program successful? Because that's what we're supposed to be. That's what it means to be a resource. And that's what I've contributed these past 2 semesters. The reason I'm running for president is because I want to take that culture change, that idea, that initiative, and spread it across the entirety of student government. We've done good with Buck Fund, but there's a lot more work that still needs to be finished.
You both have done a tremendous job in responding to these questions, but now we have an opportunity for you all. What is a question you have for your opponent? Mr. Carlson, you will ask the question to Ms. Ben, and then you will have the chance to respond.
Ms. Ben, are there any pieces of legislation that you have primary sponsored that you feel have had positive impact on the student body?
Well, Senator Carlson, I don't feel like any I've written, well, I feel like all legislation impacts the students in some way or any shape or form. But I feel like the one that I'm primary sponsoring right now that is in the works that I'm working on, it's trying to get a new section of gen ed that you could choose from for mental health or physical health. I feel like, I don't know if you all knew this, but last semester there were 4 ETSU students who committed suicide. That's the most in 10 or 15 years, and I just think that's an outrageous number. I don't think we should have any suicides. So the piece I'm working on now is to create a new section for a gen ed requirement. It wouldn't be like for you have to literally take this class. It would just be like an option, like you could take humanities or this section, because I feel like if I'm not mentally or physically healthy my freshman year, like if I don't live through my freshman year, then I don't need to know how to work Excel. So therefore, that's one piece that I am, that's one piece that I'm working on as of right now. I've co-sponsored a lot, but I really haven't taken the real initiative on like really writing a piece of legislation because I've never really felt like I could write a piece as eloquently as some other people, so it's been kind of intimidating. And we had mentors, but I hadn't really had time to get with my mentor, but right now I'm working on this piece, and it's taken a lot longer than I expected. I wanted to introduce it last week in Senate, but it's a little more complicated to add a whole new section of gen eds than you think. There's a lot of hoops to jump through and whatnot. So that's one thing. It's my turn. Oh. I didn't have any questions for you. I thought the students should have this time to ask you a question, not me.
Well, that works. We'll just keep going then.
Oh.
The best thing is this is the final question, so you get to give it all you got right here. All right. So, if you could choose one accomplishment to have remembered about you after you leave office and you graduate, what would it be?
I think the one thing that I know my ticket and I would want is for students to say, hey, that executive branch literally cared so much about us that I felt like they were my family. I want them to feel like we empowered them so much and we listened to them so much that they were like, hey, we don't even want y'all to leave, Y'all were here for us through thick and thin. So I want the students to, I want the one thing or one accomplishment, whether it be, I don't know how we'll accomplish it. Well, I do. We have a platform and everything, but I'm not going to give you that spiel right now. But I just want students to say, hey, that exec gave so much. They gave their all, and they really cared about us, and they heard us out, and they got stuff done for us. They were an SGA for us.
I have a lot of things that I desire to accomplish very deeply. Perhaps the one that I want to last the longest, because I feel it sets a framework for future progress, is a program, we haven't named it yet, but essentially how it would function is this. At least twice monthly, senators would go and sit alone, or one at a table in the cave, and students would be able to come and sit down face to face across the table from them and talk about whatever they need to talk about. If they have concerns, if they need to open up to somebody, whatever it may be, I want students to be able to come talk to us, because currently I don't feel like that's an option for a lot of people, and that's a travesty. So in the process of creating these new bonds, I hope that a culture is started. A culture wherein our focus is developing bonds every single day with every single student we meet. Because without those bonds, we can't even begin to function like the student government we are meant to be.
Thank you, Mr. Carlson and Ms. Ben. This concludes the questions for the presidential position. Our next questions will be for the vice presidents. And the candidates running, Ms. York and Mr. Schulz.
So welcome to the big spotlight. Welcome to the big spotlight. Now it's time for you all. So what we'll do is we'll just continue the back and forth. And since Doretha answered the question first last time, we'll just start with your side this time and go back and forth. Yeah? Okay. So first question, this is one that's really hard. I think you guys can answer. What is your motivation for choosing to run for the SGA vice president?
Okay. First of all, I'm Allison York, running for vice president. I think there are several things that motivate me. One being that currently I'm the secretary treasurer, so I have a really unique position to run again for a different position. And I've seen in this past year where students' voices have started to be heard in different initiatives that our executive branch has been doing, such as focus groups. But we want to really continue that within our ticket. And so that's actually my motivation is students. I know the majority of executive candidates are. But really, it's just SGA as a whole and our university as a whole. I love it so much. Like, mainly my closet is blue and gold. I love this university so much. And it is just benefiting and then just leaving a legacy for sure.
Mine is pretty similar. I have served in many different roles within the student government. I'm one of the longest serving members in student government, having held positions from junior senate to senator to cabinet. I've seen it all. And honestly, it's discouraging that we don't have more students that come and talk to us and stuff. So I would really like to see more outreach to the students as well. And the students do motivate me to also pursue higher positions such as vice president. I see ETSU as a home, and I want to make students feel like they're at home. And that's my motivation for running for vice president, so that students feel like this is their home.
Thank you, candidates. The next question, what leadership experiences do you have that will qualify you for this position? Mr. Schulz.
As I just said, I'm one of the longest serving members in student government, but I actually held a very unique position within student government during my time as a senator. I was president pro tem, and that's a very strange title that not a lot of people have any idea what it does. Simply, it's almost like acting vice president when the vice president is not able to chair the Senate meeting. So I've had experience doing the vice president's job when I chaired Senate meetings. I chaired close to, I think, 5 or 6 of those meetings my sophomore year. And so I've held that position, but I'm not just a member of student government. I've held many different leadership positions on campus. I've been a admissions ambassador. I've been in small organizations, large organizations. I know what it's like to be a student here. And I feel that my leadership in different organizations, in different roles, really qualifies me to be able to take on this.
I, of course, have assumed some rather large student leadership roles, whether it be in high school, also college as well. SGA specifically, like I said earlier, I'm the Secretary Treasurer, so I've had that executive office work there. Before then, I actually held a unique position as an Associate Justice, even though those really do get looked over quite often, and they're still pretty important. So I actually have a great concept of SGA as a whole, whether it be exec, as I've said on that. I've said in every Senate meeting, so I know exactly how those are ran, and I know how our judicial branches ran as well. While I was not able to be a senator, unfortunately, due to some classes and things, I have sat in there. And I would like to say that Vice President is not only about running meetings, which I have done in other student roles. It's actually about, making sure that you're available for students as well. And it's taking that information of what students want back to faculty, back to your committees that you sit on. There's a lot of background work that our executive branch does that you don't really realize. So it goes further than just those Senate meetings. It's connecting with our senators as well, so I definitely feel like I would be capable for the job.
Okay, so my next question is, you talked a little bit about the job of Vice President. Like I said, you guys keep leading me into the next question. I don't know what this is, like there's some type of wavelength going on here. But essentially, the next thing we want to touch on is one of the parts of the Vice President. The Vice President is really internally focused in the SGA. So specifically, how would you work to resolve any type of conflict that would occur in any part of the SGA as Vice President?
Okay. I feel like I'm a very assertive individual, and that can be used strategically. In our Senate, I think it's great to have conflict no matter what, because that allows individuals to work through things. On the other hand, whenever you see that conflict, it's very important to have an individual that knows when to stop it and how to address those issues. I've addressed issues as I've been a student leader, but I think also respect is a big thing, and that's something that we've struggled with in our Senate. Respect is not demanded, it's earned, but everyone should be respected. And that goes further besides in the Senate chambers. I would love to meet one-on-one with senators as they come into our Senate, just to get to know them and build relationships, because our respect will be there when relationships are built.
If conflict arises within student government, I think a lot of conflict arises from a lack of communication, a lot of miscommunication, a lot of talk behind people's back that might not necessarily be true. And I really am a big, I don't know the word I'm looking for here, proponent, I guess, of setting the people down that the conflict's between and having them try and talk it out, whether that's 2 people, whether that's, 5 or 6 people, just trying to hear all sides of the story and them hearing the sides so that they can make sure that what's being communicated was actually being communicated, and then taking steps from there to help remedy that. And I am a big proponent, again, of just getting people together and trying to hammer out the issues before they continue to rise up in the organization. So,
You both have provided great ways for resolving conflicts within SGA, but in regards to collaboration with the executive board, what do you see as your role in working with the other 2 executives, even if they aren't from the same ticket? Mr. Schultz.
I work well with anyone. I can sit there and talk to walls and probably get along with them. I can work well with anyone. Of course, I want my entire ticket to win, but I realize that that's not always necessarily the case. It wasn't this past year. I've had to work with people that I didn't necessarily get along with, that didn't necessarily get along with me. And we have still done great things together inside student government, whether it was in another organization. I'm able to work with anyone, and I see the executives as more of a harmonious role. I think that they should all be on the same page, whether that is, they might have different opinions, but when they go and talk to students or when they're trying to address an issue with students or the Senate, I think that they need to be on the same page with everything. I think they all need to get their thoughts and feelings out before they take it to the students or before they take it to the Senate. So that's my opinion with that.
Well, I can speak from experience on this question for sure. I was the one for my ticket that won last year, and so going into it the first few days when the 3 executives were elected, we sat down and we resolved our conflicts. We spoke with each other. Luckily enough, we were all friends before then for sure. But communication was key in that process there, and I think now, like, those are some of the closest people that I have with me, because what you must learn first of all is that we're all here for the students, no matter how cliche that may sound. We still are, and that's something that the three of us really hammered out. We spent time, outside of the office, bonding and things like that. You must realize that you're there for your job, you're there for your students, you're there, whatever the Constitution tells you, that's what you must do. But you all three must work together for sure. And obviously, since I did it this past year, I feel like I could, if it did happen, continue that as well.
Thank you, candidates. This will be the last question. If you could describe the perfect atmosphere for the SGA, what would it look like? Ms. York.
Okay. Like stated before, respect, for sure. We had an issue with this year, and it was really aggravating. I try my best to respect every single person. I know I'm quite different from each and every one of you in the crowd here, and that's okay. Realizing that we're different is perfectly fine. That's all why we're here. And having different qualities, anything like that, would help with collaboration on legislation, anything, the whole entire process. So, like meeting one-on-one with your senators, even with your justices, your other executives, your cabinet, building those relationships first will create respect, like I mentioned earlier, and that's what I'm really going to hammer out as Vice President.
So, having served in both the Senate and the cabinet, I've seen different sides of things, I would say. And a lot of times there's talk about how the senators don't necessarily get along, but honestly, I think that the exec and the cabinet members and the Senate members all need to be harmonious. They all need to talk to each other. They all need to respect each other. And more importantly, my ideal situation for student government in the Senate is for each senator, each exec, and each cabinet member, and each student that attends those meetings, because yes, you all can attend the SGA meetings, is to walk out of there feeling like they are friends, that they are a family. And while, things might get heated sometimes, because like Allison said, we're all very unique and we're all very different, and we all have very different ideas. I want each member to drop that when they leave the Senate room and not bring it outside there, and to walk out of there as friends.
Can we give him a big round of applause? Yes. Now the last part before the food gets ready and you guys are, I know you're all salivating, but not yet. So our secretaries, Mr. Ben Schaller and Ms. Taylor Dunn, take your place at the podium.
This first question is the same question we have asked the prior positions. So what is your motivation for choosing to run for SGA Secretary? Ms. Dunn.
So my motivation for running for secretary is that SGA should be transparent to the students. The students should know everything that's going through SGA, the legislation, the Constitution, everything. Transparency should be the SGA.
Okay, that's good. Hello, okay. Just trying to figure out where y'all can hear me. So yeah, I remember the night. I was walking home from the garden. We just recently built a bunch of raised beds, and Kevin Carlson gives me a phone call. He asked me if I had any intentions of running for an exec, and at the time I had to say no. But when he had told me that him and Allison York both had thought that personally I would be a great fit for not only their campaign, but for voicing opinions of the students, I was honored. And I took that home and I slept on it for a couple of days because I didn't know what to think about it. A huge commitment like that I hadn't even thought about. But honored as I was, I knew this huge commitment needed to be answered. And after a couple of days, I met back up with Allison and Kevin, and Allison went over several of the duties that secretary would hold. I felt like I got a firm grasp of what that position would actually mean and what that would entail. As for weekly duties and all the rest of it, I feel pretty confident that that's something I could do. And motivation, like what's my motivation behind that? I feel confident that I can be an adequate secretary, as well as juggling all the other things that I've got down. So I feel like visibility is definitely important, as well as accountability and affordability. I think all of these things are very important, and that's my motivation. Thank you.
Okay, so you both touched on this, and we're going to go ahead and hit that. How do you intend to further promote transparency within the SGA, seeing as that is a part of both of y'all's statements?
Thank you. Sorry, one second. Okay. Clearly, there is an issue with transparency. During this past week in my campaigning, our campaigning, I had several students ask me, what does the SGA actually do? That's a strange question to answer. And in fact, that's not something unique to this past week. That's something I've had to answer to my friend group and several other friend groups throughout this entire year. That's a problem. Now, there's been talk about putting suggestion boxes in various places. Because the truth is, the people have questions. The people have concerns, and the people have criticism, and they should be noted. But it's hard to find a place to put these things, these criticisms and the like. This talk about suggestion boxes sounds important, sounds good, sounds like a great idea. Well, there's news. We have a suggestion box. The sad part is, we have pictures of that suggestion box inside of a trash can in the SGA office, like underneath desks and the like. That speaks volumes to our current situation and our problems with transparency. So though I do think suggestion boxes would be a great idea, and I have no problem with putting that suggestion box in front of our office, though sometimes it seems intimidating, what I think is really important is to step back and work on why are these issues? Because there is no single issue here, but rather symptoms of a much larger problem. Personally, some things I've worked on is I've tried to bridge the gap between myself and students, whether through my Facebook or through other places. I go up to random students and talk to them about food. Food is one of the niches I like. I like food, y'all. Food's pretty good. I've personally taken those criticisms, and there are criticisms on our food, and acted as a liaison between Aramark and the students. So that's one thing about visibility, just going out and talking to students. I'm sure a lot of you all have seen me. But lastly, something else I've headed up was a tabling event, and I'd like to see more of this. And in fact, I got a lot of good support from a lot of senators in this. We just had a tabling event in the cave, and it turned out to be a canned food drive. It was awesome. Got a lot of canned foods for Bucky's Food Pantry, because apparently they need it, which is great that we got cans for them. I had some opportunity at that opportunity to speak to several of my constituents that I'd never actually spoken with before. I feel like more of that, more bridging between the students, I think that's what we need, and that's what I'm working towards. Thank you.
I think our website is definitely a key. I know as me as well as my ticket, we would love to go out and talk to every student, but that's almost impossible. And as much as, when you pass by a student on campus, you can just say, hey, go check out our website. And by updating our website regularly with our Constitution, pieces of legislation that's going through, and definitely pieces of legislation that's been passed and the voting on them, that can definitely, you can just say, hey, I want to talk to you right now, but, just go check out our website for more information. And if you keep the website, properly up to date, then there won't be any questions to that.
Okay, thank you.
Now, you've touched on the importance of the SGA website. What are your plans for continuously updating the SGA website?
I plan to continuously update the website through, like I just said, through the Constitution, definitely keeping that up to date, because, that's how we vote on within the Senate and how the Senate runs, and through pieces of legislation that's going through, so the students can know what's going to affect them. And if they see a piece of legislation that they're all about, they're able to come and talk to us at Senate and talk during an open forum, so the students know what's going through Senate.
It's good, definitely. Our website is definitely needing vast repair. If elected, I will continue to work with our current secretary, as well as the administration that she has been currently working with about this issue. And this has been an issue throughout this semester. Accessibility is definitely one of our lead platforms, and this website should be more accessible to me if elected as the secretary. As it stands, it is not. We have to go through several other situations. The secretary, as it stands, does not have as accessible as a role to the website. So a lot of work needs to be done to gain the accessibility to change the website. It seems the path between us, the secretary, and the administration, that's a muddy trail, and we just need to clean that up a little bit. And our current secretary has been cleaning that up, definitely something. So, working with her, working with the current administration she's been working with, I think I can clean that up and make it more accessible. Thank you.
Okay, so we're running short on time, so I've got one last question.
All right.
both of you all are incredibly involved on campus, whether that may be through eco or in the sororities. You guys have really making an impact on this campus. But one of the challenges of being an exec is our time management. So essentially, how would you work to prioritize your commitment to SGA in relation to all the other commitments that you may have, and would that alter anything as it currently stands? Ben, you'll be first.
Is that me first? Okay. 1 second. Could you just repeat that question one more time? Thank you.
Absolutely. So, how would you prioritize your commitment to SGA in relation to your other commitments?
Okay.
School and outside as well.
Okay, definitely. That's definitely an important issue. As noted, I am the president of a rather small group on campus, the Environmental Conservation Organization. Pretty cool group. We do a lot of field trips. That's a really cool thing. We went out to Washington, D.C. last year to protest on the Capitol. These small group does some pretty big things, but it's not without the help of the other group. This year, I've spent a lot of time trying to pass the torch, so to speak, because if elected, this is my priority. Thank you. That group is an awesome group, and I feel like it governs itself in a lot of respects. And with that, I can still take charge while making this my lead priority. One other thing that I can speak on this, I actually used to be a whitewater raft guide. It's a nice little story for you. One thing I learned on the river, that's something that I think is really important towards this, is about making choices and sticking with them. Because as it turns out, whenever you're going down the river, you will be confronted with obstacles. You'll be forced to make decisions that can impair the lives of others. Now, this might not be as crazy or as intense down the ride of being secretary, but the point is, when you make a choice, you must commit to it. You cannot hesitate after you make that choice. You cannot tarry from the original choice. You must commit. And I think that is very important, and I am very confident in my commitment towards secretary. Thank you.
As Lucas said earlier, I'm currently the president of Alpha Delta Pi, and watching over 114 women is a lot harder than it sounds. But if I am elected your secretary, the secretary position affects the entire student body. So being secretary, that would definitely be put on the top of my to-do list, but I definitely can't let AD Pi kind of slip, because through being president of AD Pi, I have gained leadership skills that I thought that would make me a good candidate to be your secretary. And through that, that's why I'm here now. So I definitely think that since the student, being your secretary affects so many people, it's unreal how many people it actually does affect, that it definitely wouldn't slip, but I would keep up my other commitments and do it 110%.
This one was submitted here tonight, not on Facebook or Twitter yet. But if you could be a song, what song would you be, and why would you be that song? So all 6 of you get to answer this one.
All 6 of us out there?
Yep, all 6 of you, every single one.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so we're going to start off
I'll go for it.
with Miss Allison York.
Okay, probably Don't Stop Believin' by Journey, because it's classy, but everyone still loves it.
Oh, let me fall.
So mine's really embarrassing because apparently I don't listen to music. Sexy, I Know It. You go ahead and follow up in a second. They get to follow up first. What is going on?
Probably Imagine by John Lennon. Yeah, definitely one of the songs that strikes me deepest. Thank you.
Yeah, you go.
So the song that really gets me pumped when it comes on the radio is Eye of the Tiger.
Not the kind of question I anticipated. I guess I got to go with probably my favorite band, Mumford & Sons, Little Lion Man, always fighting the good fight.
I feel like this question was made for me. First of all, we didn't approve Zach's Sexy and I Know It. That was weird. I like his confidence, though, yes. I think mine would be Unwritten. The rest is still unwritten. That one. Probably because, if we're elected, we're going to start anew, and our story is unwritten with you all.
All right, the next question, what or who inspired you to run for office and why? And this question is posed to all 6 of you.
Oh, you all have to answer? Oh, okay, just kidding.
There is one person in this world without whom I do not think I would be running for the office of president, and his name is Lucas Haichu. I'm sorry, I wish he didn't have to be here for this, but all this year I've had the pleasure of working very closely with him at Secretary of Allocations. The man has the biggest heart of any human being I've ever met. He wants the best for every single person on this campus. He works day in and day out to make the Buck Fund better because that's all that he has charge of right now. But if there's any man that I want to be, and if there's a leader that I want to be like on this campus, it is Lucas Haichu.
Kayla, you're my inspiration. I would have to say Dr. Brenda Whitewright. Yeah, snaps for Dr. Whitewright. She's been an inspiration in my life ever since I came to Preview, and she told me one day, well, I was talking to her and I was like, hey, I want to be just like you when I grow up. And she was like, how about you do me one better? How about you be a better you when you grow up? And I was like, yes, ma'am, I will try every day to be a better me and strive every day to be a better human being. So she really inspired me to believe in myself and be a better me every day and be a better me for you all.
That one person, that's pretty hard. I've definitely been inspired by one group on this campus, and that's the student body. I've definitely been inspired by y'all. Appreciate it. No, I mean, definitely. And I mean that, though. I mean that, too, and I think you believe me. Because, yeah, I guess I am a little weird in some respects, in a lot of respects. That being said, it was because of you all that I really wanted to come up here and help some voices be heard. And so, yeah, it's because of y'all. Thank you.
While I think it's a little bit different from why you're inspired to run and who kind of inspires you to run, I've had a lot of great people in my life that have really influenced me running and have really encouraged it, rather, and really supported me throughout my time here at ETSU, not just in SGA. Particularly those people like Caroline Baird and Robbie Vance, 2 people that outside of student government that have been my polo family, that have been friends from the very beginning. Those 2 people have really inspired me and to keep following my dreams. So a big shout out to both of them.
Yeah, like Zach stated, it's hard to peg just one individual. Same with Ben. I would say just an array of people, especially the exec this year. They continue to believe in me. But especially my presidential candidate, Kevin Carlson. We had been discussing, really if we were going to do it, why, and he truly gave me the inspiration to tell me that I could stand in front of that Senate and lead it. So thanks for being my inspiration.
So my one person would definitely have to be my mother. I was trying to explain to her what the process of campaigning entailed, and she would say, Taylor, I can come up at midnight if you want me to and hang up signs with you and chalk, whatever you need to do. So my mom has never really understood the purpose as to what the organization does, but she's always been that push for me to do my best and my hardest.
I don't know if I get to talk about my motivation, but for being up here tonight, it's Caesar Flickerman. Or, the Hunger Games, that's why I'm up here. Thank you. The delayed response, though. So our next question is one for anyone on the 2 tickets to answer. It'd be one person. So the question states, what preparations will you take in regards to the football program and how it's going to impact this campus?
What's done is done in terms of voting. Football is coming. That is a reality. It is coming, and we would be remiss if we did not understand that. And so something that I have done and that I have been working towards is on my service on the Alcohol and Other Drug Safety Advisory Committee on this campus. So for those of you who don't know, the data very clearly tells us that when football comes, what will rise is use of alcohol and drugs, which is in and of itself not that problematic. What is problematic is the sexual assault that will increase as a result of these two problems. So in my service to the AOD committee, I have advocated passionately with those individuals to be ready and to proactively address this sexual assault issue. Because if we don't step up now, then in a few years, people will be sexually assaulted on this campus, and we could have done something about it, but we're gonna have to look in the mirror and know that we didn't, for no good reason other than that we just didn't take the time to prepare. That's ridiculous. So KAB is here to say that we will prepare for football, and we will prepare for all decisions that this body makes and understand all ramifications therein.
That was a wonderful answer. Oh, sorry, lost my footing. That was a great answer, Kevin, and I completely agree. As Senator Hamill and Senator Owenby pointed out in Senate one day, that there will, the statistics do show that there will be a rise of sexual assault. So I think that's one thing that we need to do is increase, public safety and things of that measure, so we don't have to look back and say we could have prevented this. I think another thing, though, is let's get our school spirit up. This is another thing for us to be true and proud about. Yeah, it's here, and you're a Buccaneer, and you may not be too happy about it, but like Kevin said, it's here. We voted on it. Well, I wasn't in Senate at the time, so they voted on it, and it's here, and so why not be excited about it? You go to this school, you bleed blue, you are a Buccaneer, so let's get hype and let's get excited about it. Let's have pep rallies. Let's have blue and yellow wars. Let's foster the school pride that we are lacking. I feel like this is our prime opportunity to get involved and get the students happy about being here, getting them to feel like they are part of something bigger, because like I said before, they are, and DZT is here to empower you.
Okay, this next question will be for one candidate from each ticket, and it is a concern of a student. Recently, a lot of my major classes have moved to the online format. This seems to be a school-wide movement. Online classes are more expensive, and most students would rather take the on-campus version. Do you plan to take action and make sure online courses are options only?
I think that's a very valid concern. Personally, I've never actually taken an online course, and I don't want to. I feel that face-to-face interaction with faculty is very important. As I referenced earlier, I'm not the man today that I would have been without those faculty members mentoring me. So we have basically two approaches that we think can help resolve this. The first is through the Senate. So for those of you that don't know, the Senate can pass resolutions that effectively say the students want or don't want this, we approve or don't approve of this. So we would, of course, push for the Senate to pass a resolution stating that campus courses should not, or online courses should not be mandatory. The second thing that we can do, and this is more from the executive branch, when we go to the committees and we have FaceTime with administrators, we're going to tell them, students don't want this. Please do not push this on students. Because if elected, that is something that we would have the capability to do that we don't currently have.
But on the other hand, some students do enjoy online classes. I have taken one every single semester while I've been here. It makes life way easier on my part. So really to address that question, to take every single concern in, while some students really enjoy that, some students may have children, they may not be able to be in class every single day, So with that being said, it would be awesome to have our focus groups that we really started this year, and we want to continue with large topics. So really get all of those student interest in and their concerns, and then with that, take that forward to the administration.
Thank you for that question. We take your concerns very seriously, so we will definitely take that into consideration. I feel like if you came to this campus and you want to take classes on this campus, then the majority of your classes should be offered on campus. I mean, if you cannot take a class like on the campus, then yeah, of course, take it online. But if you want to take a class on campus and they're just moving it to online just because it's more convenient for them, well, I pay to go here, so convenient to me. But one thing we want to do is, so yes, we can take this to the administration, but I know one thing DZT wants to do is, SGA sits on a lot of committees. We want to open that up to the students. We want y'all to sit on these committees because, hey, it's your voice that needs to be heard as well. We don't always have time to go to all the committee meetings, so why not open it up to the student body at large? If you're interested in parking and traffic, then you sit on that committee and you be dedicated to parking and trafficking. And if you are interested in academic affairs, then you sit on that committee, you know? We sit on many of university standing committees, so why not have students at large? I mean, you're just as part of SGA as I am. So we think that's one major thing that, hey, you could bring that to administration as well. We would love to help you, but hey, come sit on this committee and voice your concerns because we definitely want to listen. Thank you.
Okay, so the next question, this is also for one person. This one was submitted on Facebook. Yeah, that Facebook event though. So this actually is a 3-part question, so I'll be glad to reiterate those parts if need be. First of all, which organizations have you participated in apart from SGA? And specifically focusing on that, what type of struggles have you faced? This question focuses on like what type of struggles the organizations are facing and what type of changes would you make to alleviate those problems and encourage organizations to flourish on our campus?
Okay, so I might need you to address the 3 parts again. I'm going to go ahead and go with the first part. I've served in several different organizations, like I said before, but one that really was particularly, I guess, intriguing was Pre-Law Society. I watched it grow, and then I watched the membership dwindle, and then I watched it grow a little more, and then I became president of it, and then I watched it dwindle a little more, and it was just a constant fight for trying to get students interested. It's a small organization, and you know, we have a lot of smaller organizations on this campus, and there needs to be ways to encourage growth in these smaller organizations, and the way I think that can happen is by really advertising them a lot more, not necessarily limiting them to a smaller, minute group such as Pre-Law Society, only 2 pre-law students or people interested in law school, but branching out and collaborating with other organizations, which is usually encouraged through the Buck Fund process as well. So that's one of the ways that I would want, that DZT would want to do that, is by a lot of more advertising of these smaller organizations. And what's the second one? Like I said. Okay. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. Oh, okay.
Okay, well, our ticket is super diverse in the fact that we are all involved in many campus organizations, whether it be Greek Life for me, Public Health Student Association, some honor societies, President's Pride, starting a lacrosse team with some senators. We have Heroes, FMLA, the Honors College. So we really bring this diversity, first of all, to the executive branch. Now, there are problems within our student organizations. I'm involved in large ones and small ones, and within these, I feel like in our large ones, we're way over-programmed. I know I can say in Greek Life, as I was a really, like a strong leader in that up there, it was tough. It was tough. We were all over-programmed. We were requiring all these students to go to things, be involved in other smaller organizations. On the flip side, our smaller organizations they struggle with whether it be public relations and getting their name out there, to collaboration. And when they hold events, we want their events to be just as important as the large ones, because they are. And that kind of falls in with the Buck Fund as well. But Zach, I know, touched a little bit on it. Collaboration, that's highly important. We've had some different organization events where they all come, some of our student leaders. It's getting our student leaders together on this campus first of all, and then they can take it back to their student organizations. We want programs on our campus, collaboration within that, and that way, you know, our students aren't over-programmed and our smaller organizations are getting their name out there as well, because they're just as important.
The next question will be for one candidate from each ticket as well. Would you ever approve a policy which oppressed one person but had benefits for the majority or even the rest of the student body? Would you ever approve a policy which oppressed one person but had benefits for the majority or even the rest of the student body?
Oppression is oppression. One person or all of them, I would never implement a policy which oppressed one person, even if every other single person somehow benefited from it. One person's suffering does not justify benefit for others. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you stand for. To think that people are a means to an end is dehumanizing, and it's ridiculous, and I would never tolerate it in this executive.
As someone who identifies as in a few groups who have been oppressed, I feel as though, sorry, I took my glasses off, getting serious in here. I feel as though if you're oppressing one group but it benefits another group, is it really benefiting that group to give them privilege over the other group? I feel like what Kevin said, oppression is oppression. We would not stand for that. You can't justify oppression just because it benefits people. Oppression, you literally are taking opportunities away from one person to benefit a majority. DZT doesn't, we don't believe in that, so no, we wouldn't support that.
These questions are brutal. So kudos, you're getting to the tough issues here. So my next one's a little bit easier, but it's also for one person. So as this person writes, a lot of people don't know what SGA is or who their Senate representatives are. What are y'all going to do about that? Or in other words, how are you going to create an SGA awareness?
All right. Yeah, I can let them go.
No, y'all go.
Sure, I'm already standing. All right, sorry about that. I got a little excited. This is something I've been working on. As I noted with the tabling stuff, getting SGA representatives out to talk to students would increase visibility, which is something we advocate. Getting SGA representatives, SGA senators, SGA executives talking to students is imperative for visibility. I like to think that this is something I've been spearheading. This is something I will not stop doing if elected. This is definitely something that would help and would definitely increase visibility. Thank you.
So we want the student body to know our senators also by updating the website, just keeping that up to date so everyone knows, who the senators are, what their email addresses are, and the best way to contact them. But as a ticket, we also want to implement the office hours being put out into high traffic areas on campus where they're not just in the SGA office. We want them in Boardchuck Plaza, the pedestrian mall, and we want students to come to us and be able to tell us their concerns on this campus. And we, as an exec, we agreed that we would want to have personally email each student who came to us with a concern to say, hey, we know what's bothering you, or if we're not sure about it, why don't you come into our office and we can set up a meeting and figure this out. So they know that this concern that they have is just not being swept under the rug, that we are addressing it.
Okay, this next question is posed for the candidates who have been members of Senate. What fees have you voted for and against in the past?
I actually cannot recall a fee that I voted for in the past when I was in Senate. The football legislation did pass through my time in Senate, but during that time, as I mentioned earlier, when I was President Pro Tem, which was the acting chair when the Vice President couldn't be there, Leah Tilson, who was the Vice President at the time, had sponsored the legislation to increase the fee for football, and since she was a sponsor, she had to step down as chair, and I had to lead the football meeting, so I didn't have a vote in the football meeting. That was the only fee that I ever had passed through during my time as a senator, so I actually didn't have a chance to vote on that since I was leading the meeting.
So, you may have seen in the East Tennessee, and hopefully a senator at some point reached out to you about it, but this year we voted on a fee to basically sustain Little Bucks. They lost federal grant funding, and unfortunately the program would have been shut down. Now, I know that part of our platform is affordability, affordability does not just mean that we say no matter what to student fees. What affordability means is that if a student fee is going to pass, it's only going to pass if students want it and students support it and students basically need it. And in the case of Little Bucks, we felt that to not pass that fee would have basically disbenefited non-traditional students, students with children, students who need daycare and access to it. So I voted yes to that. Also, my second week as a senator, I was a freshman, and the football legislation came up. I voted yes, but I have to be honest, I don't think I voted yes for the right reasons. It was my second week. I was sat down a day before the Senate meeting by members of the current administration. They said to me, hey, we need your support. And I didn't really know what was happening. All I knew was I had just been appointed to this position, and these important people were talking to me and telling me these things, and they said, just vote yes to this. It's going to be okay. It's going to be good. This is good for the students. The students want this, they told me. And I walked into that Senate meeting intimidated, afraid. When the most powerful people in an organization tell you to do something and you're 2 weeks in, it's kind of hard to stand up to that and say no. So I voted yes, but I think that that speaks to a cultural issue we have in student government of a top-down approach that disenfranchises certain voices.
So there's actually two pieces of legislation that I approved, one being football, and mine wasn't, I didn't vote yes due to pressure, but I voted yes because the students I did talk to were for it because they thought this would be just a start for school, more school spirit, and better off our school. And the second piece was a library fee to increase the hours and make them longer in the library, and I did vote for that because I know a big complaint that I heard was the library hours. So I did vote in favor of those two pieces.
I will say that one of the reasons I wanted to join Senate was because I felt like my voice was not heard in the discussion about football. I had signed a petition about my opinions on it, but as it stood, I was not in the SGA at the time and did not have a vote. That is why I ran, and that is why I was later appointed, I think. But one thing that I did vote for, as Kevin really hit home with, was to keep the Little Bucks. That's something that the students came to us. Some administration came to us, but it was definitely bottom up. And I think that's what the student government is for. The bottom up approach to really get down and figure out what the students want. Because affordability, that's complicated. That doesn't mean no new fees. That means bring the fees that can benefit us as students, and the ones that we're okay to pay. I think what was it, only like $1 or $5? The price of something at Starbucks, no doubt. Yeah, it was definitely something I could afford to keep Little Bucks and non-traditional students going to classes. So I voted yes for that. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
I'm just kidding. Lucas forgot about me. Thanks. So the only fee I have voted on to increase was, as the two senators over here said, was Little Bucks. Only because that students said that they wanted it, and so we were like, heck yeah, let's raise the fee for Little Bucks. But whether it be $5, $20, $60, a student increase, like a fee increase is a fee increase, and we will not vote on a fee increase unless the students want us to vote on a fee increase. And we heard overwhelming amounts of yes, 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 save Little Bucks, save Little Bucks, save Little Bucks, because it does help a lot of students here on campus. So that's the one I voted yes for.
Okay, so this was also one for one person. This one writes, your platforms are drastically similar. What makes your platform better from your opponents, or what makes it different?
Okay, can I go? Can you repeat the question?
I sure can. Your platforms are drastically similar. What makes your platform better and or different from the other platform?
Like I said before, nothing makes anybody better or worse than anyone else. I don't believe in saying something is better or worse, or like people are better or worse. But I think our platforms differ because, like I said before, we're different people. It doesn't make it any better or any worse because I know we're all here for the students. And I know some people say that our platform is all talk, but it's not all talk. I'm a person that talks the talk and walks the walk, and so is my ticket. So just know that our platform isn't just words on a paper. We're going to make these words a reality. So our platforms do differ. Our platforms are very similar because, I mean, we should both be here for the students. So, of course, yeah, our platforms are, I mean, they're not the exact same, but they do have similarities, and I don't think ours is any better or any worse. I think it's a platform for the students, and it should be taken as that, a platform for the students.
Yeah, I agree with Ms. Ben. I wouldn't want to say that any platform is better, but they certainly are different, particularly in the way they would be implemented. So I would like to speak on the various elements of my platform and the things that we have already done in pursuit of the principles that we represent. So in accessibility, we've already heard him talk about how he has spearheaded a tabling initiative where senators interact face-to-face with students. That's incredible. So while we are currently talking the talk, we've been walking the walk for some time. In terms of accountability, Allison has been working through the past 2 semesters to get all the senators' contact information. Now, unfortunately, senators aren't always cooperative in this respect, but she has been diligently updating the website as that information comes in to ensure that we are contactable by students. And then in terms of affordability, we were all voices. I don't know if you remember the Culp renovation fee. When it came up, it was a $55 fee per semester to renovate the Culp. Allison was on the legislation, but when we started talking to students, it became very apparent that nobody wanted it. So Allison advocated for the executive pull-it, while Ben and I from the Senate said we don't think this is a good idea. So I would say that our platforms differ insofar as the things that we want to do, we have already started. All we are asking for is the opportunity to make them bigger and to make them better and to take them across this entire organization.
And to conclude this debate with a more lighthearted question, what's your ticket spirit animal and why?
Our whole spirit. We have a conjoined spirit animal. Yeah, I like that. So I would just like to say that this is the hardest question we've been asked. Spirit animal. After a lot of deliberation and a lot of soul searching, we finally joined hands and came to the conclusion that we would be collectively a lion or a bunch of lions. Because, you know, lions are just like, they'll sit on Proud Rock and they'll watch over their people and whatnot, but if you force our hand, you know, we will stand up for what we believe in and we'll be fierce in it. And yeah, I don't know, spirit animals. We'll definitely be lions for you guys because lions are like courageous and they're spirit animals, and I just did a hair flip, yeah. But so yeah, we'd be lions because we're like, sorry, this was really hard. This was, and I'm rambling, so I'm gonna sit down. Thank you.
There is no way you can prepare for this kind of question. It is the hardest question we've been asked all day. I guess we're going to go with Eagle because we're going to take SGA to new heights, or at least we intend to do so. And I'm an Eagle Scout, so I don't know. I guess that hits home for me, but thank you.
And this concludes our debate. Thank you all for coming out, and we have a few thanks to give to other people.
So essentially, before we finish, I want you all to know that there's a lot of work has been put into this to make this happen. And so at this time, I'd kind of like to express my thanks to some of the people who have made this happen. So first of all, let's thank President Wallace, Mr. William Cole. Let's see, well, Miss Megan Butler's not here. Stand up. No, you gotta stand up. And where's Tom? Tom, is he still here? Okay, and Tom Klug, Mr. Tom Klug, they have worked tirelessly on the committee to make sure that this happened, to make sure these questions were vetted. We made sure they were verified by different faculty members. We made sure that they were reviewed so we would be able to bring forth a good set of questions for you. and they've worked incredibly hard. So thank you to that. Also, let's say thank you to these candidates because they're wonderful. They come through, they put themselves forth in what may be the hardest set of like interviewing ever, especially when you're asking about spirit animals. So thank you all for what you have done. Thank you for what you're putting yourself through. And tomorrow starts voting. Remember that. Go out, vote, encourage your friends to vote. And thank you all for coming tonight.